Okay, we are live for day five of the Proactive Parents Conference. How is everyone doing? Welcome back to this channel. Thank you for joining. And if you've not shared this with others, please share. Invite every significant adult around you and in your life. Thank you for joining. Today we are going to be having amazing speakers again, sharing with us from their wealth of knowledge. And so the first speaker is already here, and we'll be bringing him in immediately for his session to begin already. We are 9 minutes behind schedule. So please, if you join me, let me know that you're here and let me know that you can hear me and you can see me. Thank you, everybody, as we make welcome Prince Alex Madujemo. In his session, he'll be able to share a bit of himself. Thank you, everybody, and welcome back here. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Welcome to the Proactive Parents Conference. Thank you for joining us and thank you for honoring this invitation. We don't take it for granted. We know how tight your schedules are, and you are here with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for
And,
having me.
okay, great. So the next time you see us, we'll be rounding up. The floor is yours. You can start your session already. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from my end. I'm speaking from Nigeria. I'm in Nigeria. Like she have already introduced me, my name is Prince Madojemo Alex. I'm a therapist. I actually specialize on what they call ACEs. ACEs means adverse childhood experiences. So we actually deal with what happened to you as a child, how is it affecting you as an adult. It's a thing you can run away from until you deal with it. It's going to affect your marriage, it's going to affect your relationship, it's going to affect your finances, it's going to affect virtually everything you do. And most of these things that happen to you, probably you were not even aware of it, how it happened to you. So those are most of the things we do at Mind View Trauma Center. It's my privilege to be speaking today on this conference. I'm going to be looking at breaking suicide ideation from childhood. Breaking suicide ideation from childhood. How can we stop the prevalent suicide rate in among teens, particularly among the youth, even and in adulthood? Before I continue, there is a note I actually want to quickly make clear. There is an event that happened about 2 months back about a young lady who took her life. She took her life because, according to the story, she was made a head girl, sorry, assistant head girl in her school. So when she was made the assistant head girl in her school, one day one of the teacher told the mother that, oh, your daughter would have been the head girl, but her problem is she doesn't smile. She's always carried a frown face up and down. Nobody know what is wrong with her. So the mother went back home, started using her one to taunt her. Oh, they say, they carry this thing for school. You're always frowning. Even in the house, you're always frowning. We don't know what is wrong with you. She started taunting this particular young lady with that. Then on one evening, she came back home. She commended greatly the so-called head girl. I love her so much. She's so cheerful and everything. And guess what? They wake up in the morning. This young girl have took her life. She dropped a note. I'm going to read the note out to you. She said, "Mom, I love you, and I have always told you so. Even though I can't say whether you love me or not. You can transfer all your love to your cheerful Nifemi. Nifemi is the head girl in school whom the mother always tried to taunt her with." Please let me drop this thing because of reflection. Yeah, I think it's much better now. Oh, her mother normally taunts her with because of the head girl, though she's very cheerful. So she ended up, you can transfer all your love to Nifemi, but please do not abandon my little brother the way you abandoned me. So that was the end note. That was the suicide note she dropped for her mother to read. Now, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, why was she not always cheerful? Was she her nature that she's not cheerful? Must have happened to her that she wasn't cheerful? And those are most of the things we are going to be interrogating here today on this program. How you can stop suicide ideation, how to break suicide ideation from childhood. Before I delve into it, let's demarcate the two. There's what they call suicide thought and suicide ideation. Most often time when we use the term, we mix them up. There's a huge demarcation between suicide thought and suicide ideation. Suicide thought have to do with somebody who have suicide thoughts but have never made any plans to actually commit suicide. Suicide ideation, on the other, have to do with when the person who want to commit suicide begin to actually find out the best way to do this, how it can be done, started making preparation for it. That is suicide ideation, and many young adults actually find themselves in this scenario I just described. So, how can we deal with it? How can we stop it? Because the story I narrated up there about a young lady who took her life. Why? Because she never felt that. She never had this idea that the mother loved her so dearly. And did the mother love her? Of course, yes. We can't take that away. Every parent love their children. Every parent want the best for their children. Every parent want to see their children strive. But in the how we express that love can have to do with who we were, how we also were raised, how we project that love to those children, and the interpretation the children give to that set of love. It is what matters. Many people committed suicide because they feel helpless, they feel they were not loved, they will feel they were not good enough. So the best way for them is to end it all. Like I said, every parent love the children. Every parent want the best for the children. Now let's understand the core responsibility of every parent. The first core responsibility of every parent is to create a safe environment. Don't get that thing. Don't forget that thing. Is to create a safe environment for the children to strive, for the children to feel safe, because that is the first relationship that they ever know. And that relationship set the tone for every future relationship. From every conversation they are going to have with any other adult is going to spring from the relationship they have with their primary caregiver, which is the parent. If that relationship is shaken, if that relationship feel unsecured, if that relationship is not sure of, it's going to affect how they see themselves and how they see the adult they are relating with. We have to first of all, we have to also understand that the way you communicate love to children and how they interpret that love is a different ball game. It's a different thing. You may mean well for your children, you may want the best for the children, but how you communicate those love to the children is very essential. Like the case I cited, did the mother love the child? Of course, yes, she loved the child. Did she communicate the love properly because she want to push the child to be the best? But she ended up the way she ended up. Because most often time, we as a parent, we want to push our children to be the best. We want to make sure we motivate them. When we push them, you see, every child is unique. Every child temperament is different. There are children who the temperament they are outgoing, they are extroverts. The way they respond to situation, they respond to life event is different from a child who is an introvert. Let's say, for instance, phlegmatic or melancholy. The way they respond to issues in the family is completely different from an extrovert child or what we call choleric and sanguine. Is completely different. So if you don't understand these differences, you want to push everybody around because you want them to succeed. And first of all, let me ask you a question. You want your children to succeed so that they could fulfill you, or you want them to succeed for themselves? Let me ask you again. You want them to succeed so that they could fulfill you, or you want them to succeed for themselves? If what you are striving at is for your children to succeed for themselves, because I think about the last exam when my son came home, She brought a result. He brought a result, and I looked at it. He did well. Uh, I didn't start praising him. The first thing I did, son, how did you feel about this result? I want to know how he feel about, not how I feel. How did you feel about this result? He said he felt very well. He said he felt very well. And after I told him, these are the area you need to improve on. These are the area you need to improve on. That is the essence of parenting. Not try to drive our children into because we want them to fulfill the part of us that we couldn't fulfill. We want them to make us proud. I've never tell my son, make me proud. Make yourself proud. Do everything you have to do for yourself. Make yourself, be the best version of yourself. Don't try to compensate because I couldn't go to school. I want you to go to school to make me to feed that void for me, not for you. So this is essential. I will keep referring to the message, the first thing I read out for the little young girl that committed suicide. The mother wanted to make to the doctor to make her proud. Oh, my daughter is the first, is the head girl of her school, so she's going to be very proud of it. She's going to tell her, excuse me, she's going to tell all her friends. She's going to be very proud of it. So when she becomes short of this, it becomes a place of, she became very critical. She didn't actually understand the child. Now let me delve into the nitty gritty quickly. Why was she carrying a moody face? Now we're talking about stopping, breaking suicide ideation from childhood. Now, as a mother, let me talk to the mothers first. The life of your baby actually starts from the second trimester of your pregnancy. The second trimester of your pregnancy, when the reptilian brain start developing, the brainstem start developing, and however you feel at that moment, because the stress level of the mother will inevitably affect the baby that is in the womb, because the baby have not developed a system to metabolize what is being passed across to the baby. Scientists before now, we don't know the cause of autism and every other psychodevelopmental disorder, but there are new research that are coming up actually, that because before we used to think, oh, the cause of autism is because of old age or because of certain gene and what have you, but there is a new profound research result that are coming out now that the stress level of the mother while she was pregnant is actually is what causes this psychological psychodevelopmental disorder we have in children. That means the mother from the time of pregnancy rewrite the DNA, okay, by her level, by how she feels, by how she think, and by how she behaves. She rewrites the DNA, the genome of the little of the baby in the womb. That when the baby is born, if you are a mother who were actually not, or you were under constantly stress, I'm not talking about physical stress, the what you do, you go to work, you come back, you make dinner, you wash clothes, those are not the stress that we're talking about. We're talking about psychological stress, because when you are stressed, your body is constantly under fight and flight mode, and those fight and flight mode releases some what they call the neurotransmitter or the hormones, which are called cortisol and adrenaline, which your baby doesn't have the capacity to metabolize them, and you are not even aware because you are constantly under stress. Maybe it's as a result of domestic violence, or because of the as a result of not feeling safe, or maybe because of as a result of financial limitations, and you are constantly under stress, and it has a way of affecting the baby even before the baby is born. Then another thing you have to understand is when this baby is born, the first thing, I always say this: there are the first basic need of every child is the need for attachment, and the second need is the need for authenticity. Okay, when this baby is born, and there is this need for attachment. The baby cannot survive without this attachment. The baby cannot live without this attachment. That's why if you carry a newborn baby, drop the newborn baby, the baby is not hungry, the baby is not feeling sleeping, but or maybe she was sleeping, right? Maybe the baby was sleeping. Let me cite this example. The baby was sleeping and the baby wakes up. The baby cannot hear any sound, any movement within the environment. The first thing the baby will do is start crying because babies hate to be left alone. They want to be suited. They want to be held. They want somebody's presence around them. They want to belong. They want that connection from the onset. They want to hear somebody's voice. They want to hear somebody laugh. They want to see a smile. Haven't you seen when you smile at the baby, they respond to you with a smile. Whatever you do, baby don't hear what you say, but they read faces. The baby, your facial expression communicate to this baby whether she feels safe with you, whether she's under threat with you. That is how baby develop. That is how they recognize adult. That's why if you give a baby to a total stranger, most time baby don't extend their hand because they don't feel safe with this complete stranger. They want to hold back. The first thing they want to do is they read the facial expression of the primary caregiver, maybe the mom or the dad who is holding them at that time. They will look at the face of the mother or the father. They will look at the face of the stranger. They will look. They want to get the approval, not the approval. They want to know, am I safe with this stranger? Daddy, what do you think? They read it through your facial expression. Then you are smiling, you are laughing. The other stranger is laughing and smiling. So this have to go back and forth, go back and forth. They are looking at the facial expression of the two adults standing before them. Maybe before the baby can allow this stranger to carry him or her, because she have actually feel, oh, my baby father is smiling or my mom is smiling, their facial expression show to me though I'm safe, so I cannot go into the arms of this stranger. Then you carry that baby, and the baby, even at that, the baby still looking at the father, still looking at, because they want to feel safe. They want to make sure that the environment they are going into is feel safe. And when children don't feel safe in that environment and they grow up, because out of neglect, okay, out of abandonment, when their emotions are not constantly be validated, when they don't feel loved within that environment because of the behavior of the first giver, maybe they have their own issue or however they be. When those things, indices are not in place, the child never have that self-validation. No matter what you tell the child, I love you, that I love you never make any meaning, never make any sense, because they don't feel safe. And the second need of every child is the need for authenticity. Okay, most often time children trade their authenticity for the need for attachment, because just like the woman I cited, the daughter committed suicide. Why? Because the need for authenticity override the need for, the need for attachment override the need for authenticity. So the mother love was conditional. If only you have been the head girl, that's when I would have loved you unconditionally. That's when I would have been praising you unconditionally. You didn't come out first. Something is wrong with you. Now, this was the internalization of the little girl. Yeah, my mom is right. In fact, she gave back to me. Everything she said is she's right. She owns me, so that means I'm not good enough. That's why she can't love me for who I am. That's why I'm not acceptable, because everything I have ever done to prove that I'm good enough is never enough. I couldn't become first, but I became second. It's not good enough. Oh, something actually is wrong with me. That is the internalization of this little girl. That is the internalization. That is what she represents to herself. Why the mother thinks she's trying to motivate her to become the best, but how she represents it to herself actually is because I'm not good enough. If I'm good enough, my mom will not leave me and be praising somebody else doctor who happened to be the head girl. She Inifen is the best that could ever happen, so I'm not good enough. So how will I end it? Why am I even here? Because when I'm not loved, so why not just let me end it all? So she made the step. It started as a suicide thought, then transgressed to a suicide ideation, where she made every arrangement. They say she bought sniper and everything, she gulped it down, and that was how she ended it. So what happened is her love was based on performance, not based on an attachment. This is what happened when our love for our children is based on their performance, because no child will actually be able to meet the needs of their parents. When you make your children their love based on their performance, because if you come first, I'm going to do this for you. When you do this, I'm going to be proud of you. When you do this, but when they become feeling coming short, when they become short of your expectation of them, they internalize it as if I'm not good enough, I'm useless. So that leads them into the mode of depression. Okay, they fight depression because I'm not good enough. When they come into a place, into a room where people actually are, they see people, and they, that sense of not good enough well up in them, so they can't bring out their best, because that I'm not good enough is like a roof they can't hit their head over. I'm not good enough is like somebody who is underwater that can't raise his head above the waters. So I'm not good enough because the parents make them, their love become performance based. When you perform in a certain level, that is where my love comes to you. When you perform this, I'm going to buy you this, I'm going to do this. Okay, when you do, when you perform this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So the child does not interpret the way you interpret love to them. The first thing they have to feel is they want to feel safe with you. They want to know, if when I messed up, can I come to my mommy without being critical of me? Can I come to my daddy without being critical of me? Then I will tell you the most the problem with people have with intimacy, people, why people fear intimacy, or why people have actually not been able to establish intimacy with their children, is what they call facts. Okay, facts. Is it not your mate that came out first? Is it not your mate that achieved that fact? Is it not your mate that did this fact? Is it not your mate that did this fact? Is it not your mate that did that fact? Children does not need fact. They need validation. When you understand, children does not need facts, they need validation. When you constantly throw facts at them and they begin to fall short of the fact you are throwing at them, it leads to depression, and depression leads to suicide ideation. So if you want to stop that suicide ideation, which I actually preach, you have to start with you yourself. The children you gave birth to are not to compensate you for what you couldn't achieve for yourself. Even if you were a genius, they have their own life to live. That is authenticity I talked about, their individuality. Is you because you are a perfectionist who always want to see everybody do certain things in a certain way that pleases you, and it pushed them in a state of not good enough, and the state of not good enough pushed them into the place of depression, and depression, it leads to suicide thoughts, it leads to suicide ideation. If care is not taken, they will begin to act on it, and at the end of the day, they say, I loved him, like the mother of the girl, little girl I cited, I loved her. Then you will be going to be crying over a dead body, because you never actually, you love them, which is fine, it's not contestable, but the way you show that love, because you want to push them for them to fulfill your part of you, was not visible enough for them to feel that love, was not visible enough for them to feel that love. Understand this as a parent. Every child you give birth to have their uniqueness. Labor under their uniqueness. Labor under their authenticity. I think I listened to Mike Murdoch said one thing one time. So when she was growing up as a child, he talks a lot. He said he can talk and talk and talk and talk, and everybody, it becomes a problem to everybody. People say, "Oh, you talk too much, shut up." Many of you have children like that. You talk too much, shut up. You always asking questions, shut up. You are always there. Will you sit down in one place? That is who they are. That is their authenticity. That is their self. Focused, nurtured, that their authentic self, more than trying to modify them to suit into what you want. Model them into what you want. Observe them. Then my mother said, the mother looked at him one day and said, I prayed that God give you what to say at every moment that make people want to listen to you. And that same man went around the whole world preaching, motivating people, teaching people about leadership and what have you. Why? Because a mother who recognized why everybody saw a problem child, she saw a child who is authentic, who is himself at a very tender age, and the mother was able to nurture that authentic self, not try to shut him down because everybody thinks he talks too much. So that is our duty as a parent. And when we fall short of this, what happened is the children cannot might not be able to hit the bar we are setting, because the bar we are setting might be actually be variance from who they are authentically. So that's what leads to many people committing suicide of not good enough. They begin to lose interest about life because I'm always constantly being criticized, and they begin to withdraw from social activities. They begin to care less about themselves, because what is the point when my parent can't see me for who I am? They always want me to be like A and B and C. Why can't I just be me? Why can't I just be me? Why can't I be loved for who I am? Okay, why can't I be loved for who I am? I want to be loved for who I am, because there is this need for me to be feel attached to you, and I can't do without that attachment. So I have to be under you constantly. So at the end of the day, what happened to me is I feel not good enough. I feel not good enough. And because of that feeling, not good enough, because of also my temperament, so I might take their life. So don't forget, let me recap. During the time of your pregnancy is the most crucial aspect of you to nurture your baby. As a mother, as a father, make sure you don't put your wife under unnecessary mental and emotional stress, because that stress will affect the baby even while the baby is born. These are the cause of anxiety in children. These are the cause of depression in children. You will say, oh, where did they get it from? These are the cause of every chronic diseases that you will ever see later in future, because your body constantly releases a particular hormones that are detrimental for the growth of this baby. It mutilates the gene, it rewrites their DNA to become something else. So everything you are feeling, there is a video I actually wanted to share. My phone is down, for you to see how your baby respond to threats from the womb. My second phone I actually wanted to use is down. There's a way your baby respond to threats from the womb. Maybe the issue of domestic violence. When you are under threat, there is a way your baby in the womb respond to it. When you are joyful and smiling and happy, there is a way your baby in the womb respond to it. That's why when you give birth to a baby, the baby could be very happy, could be very joyful. Some parents wonder, why is my baby like this? Like the place the child I make reference to, she was always moody. Why was she always moody? Probably it could be from the why she was pregnant. It could be from the environment. And two, create a happy environment for your children. Love them not because of who you want them to become, because they are your children. You gave birth to them. They are your children. Love them for who they are, not for their performance base. Don't use love. So don't use performance as as trade by barter for love. When you do this, I love you. When you don't do this, I withhold my love. Love them unconditionally. Then now let's talk about you as a parent. You as a parent. This is why I always talk about, which the convener of this conference is part of the movement, intentional parenting. When you have not been able to parent yourself because of your unresolved trauma, your unresolved childhood experiences, because there is a the way we raise our children, let me say 80% of the way we raise our children is how we also were raised. Our parents were critical of most of our some of our parents. Let me not generalize. Some of our parents were highly critical of us. There is nothing you can do that is enough for them. Many of us were beaten in the name of discipline. They say, "Oh, spare the rod and spoil the child." We're beaten excessively. We're beaten like, let me not use the word an animal, and we're taught that is discipline, and that is how many of us we transfer that level of discipline to our children. Actually, that's not discipline; that is punishment. There's a huge difference between discipline and punishment, which maybe somebody also speaker will address that. So the first thing you have to understand is you create this enabling environment by you becoming the best version of yourself. Moving away from the traditional discipline that you know how you were raised to becoming an intentional parenting, not overcompensating also, because that's another huge problem. Because many of us say, "Oh, I don't want to raise my children the way I was raised." Then you become overcompensating for this to these children, and that even make it worse. Become intentional parent by you, first of all, being able to work on your triggers, work on your traumas, work on your expectations, knowing that your children are not to fulfill the path that you couldn't fulfill by yourself. Know that your children are supposed to be nurtured, not to be treated in a certain way. Know that you, whatever you poured into them from the time of pregnancy down to the level of about 7 years old, that is when the children actually the programming actually takes place. Everybody like me and you, whoever will become, actually was programmed into us at that tender age, at the last trimester of pregnancy down to the age of 6. That is where many programs take place. Any child that will commit suicide, that is where the program takes place. Any child that is going to be self-confident, that is when the program takes place. However the child is going to become later in life, that is where the programs take place. Except this child becomes to the place of consciousness, like many of us are. We come to the place of consciousness when we begin to rewrite those programs by ourselves. But if they don't come to that place of consciousness, they are going to live that programs all their life. They are going to be fearful. They're going to be they're going to live with their low self-esteem and every other thing. How does it happen? Let me explain to you. There is what they call brainwave. Okay, brainwave for adults. Brainwave have there are 4 different brainwave. We call data, theta, alpha, and beta. For a child, data spans from the age of 0 down to the age of 2. Data is a place of, for adults, is a place of deep sleep. For a child is like somebody who is watching an activity but can't participate. Whatever you put into that child at that moment, the child does not have the ability to filter, to rationalize, because the part of the brain, the part of the prefrontal cortex, which is actually the rational brain, have not started developing at all. So what they depend on is they download information. They download how to smile, how to respond to smile, how to do some certain things. They download everything. So from 2 years down to the age of 3, they move from data to theta. Theta is a state of hypnosis. Okay, it's a state of hypnosis, and at that moment, because their brain is at a very low vibration, they can't think for themselves, they can't fend for themselves. The only thing they do is they are on surviving mode. They are hungry, they want to eat, they want to poo poo, they want to maybe they have developed the motor skill to run around. That is the only level they are. So they move from that place to the state of alpha. A state of alpha is a state of calmness before they move to the place of theta. So from the age of 7, that is when the prefrontal cortex start developing, the rational brain now start developing. Then you see why you will give instruction to your child, go and get me this and this and this and this and this. They come back not doing what you do. Then you get triggered. You want to beat, you want to fight, you want to criticize, because they didn't deliberately disobey you. Their prefrontal cortex have not started developing. It is nature. Okay, it is nature. It has not started developing. They are not deliberately disobeying you. So if you have not become intentional about your parenting, if you have not healed yourself, you get triggered, you want to beat, you want to curse. Now, what happened? The child get confused. What did I do? What did I do to trigger my mom? What did I do for me to have this kind of treatment? They are confused. In that state of confusion, you don't even have the need to clarify why, because their brain have not started developing. So whatever you program into them, if you that's why most often time children who were raised in a dysfunctional family also tend to create a dysfunctional family later in future, until they become intentional. Every child that was raised in a dysfunctional environment filled with domestic violence, abuse, quarreling, fighting, because why? The programs actually at a tender age associate dysfunctionality with love, and they struggle in life with relationship. They can't hold a steady relationship except they are attracted to somebody who fits into that dysfunctionality. Why? Because it was set for them at a very tender age. The mother or the father didn't see the need for them to heal themselves, excuse me, from that dysfunctionality. So they raised up children in a dysfunctional environment, in a dysfunctional way. And because of that dysfunctionality, it takes a toll on these children later in life. Many of them battle with depression. They battle with inferiority complex. They battle with low self-esteem. Any child that have ever committed suicide battle with low self-esteem. Okay, any child that have ever, or any adult that have ever committed suicide battle with low self-esteem. So they now begin to, now this is what happened. Any child that battle with low self-esteem always look out for validation everywhere. So they begin to use performance based to get validation, because that is how the mother validated them. When they behave well, they are validated. When they perform well, they are validated. So they become an adult who always seek validation through performance. That's why you see an adult will commit suicide because they fail in business. We commit suicide because they fail in marriage. We commit suicide because they fail in relationship. We commit suicide because they fail an exam. They will commit suicide because of performance-based validation. Oh, the only thing I'm wanted for is because of my performance. Now I have failed at my performance. They will commit suicide because they lost their job, because they were programmed from the onset, from the childhood, that you are only validated when you perform in a certain way to meet our own standard. So they live their life not being able to say no to anybody. They always say yes because they want to be validated. If they say no, they are not going to be loved. When they say no, they are not going to be validated. So they always say yes. Even when they say me to say no, they can't say no, because saying no means that they are going to be rejected. No human being want to be rejected. So every human being want to be loved, because from the infants, when they were growing up, they were not showed how to be loved. And also they don't know how to set boundaries, because they don't want to offend the other person. They become people pleaser. Yeah, let me use that word. They become people pleaser. Somebody who always want to please other people. They put down their own needs, always wanted to please other people, because if I don't please them, they won't love me. If I don't please them, they won't validate me, and I can't survive without it. Why? it started from childhood, particularly that age 0 down to the age of 7. It started from that angle. How you treated them, how you suit them, how you self-regulate them. More importantly, because every child feel dysregulated. When they feel dysregulated, how did you suit them? When you critical, will you shut up there? Why are you crying? Every child cries because they are dysregulated. How did you regulate them? Will you stop crying? Why are you throwing tantrum? Why are you doing this? Because they are dysregulated. How are you suiting them? How are you suiting their dysregulation from childhood? That is what they are going to take to adulthood. This, because of this, many people go into what they call addiction. It could be substance addiction. It could be we become workaholic. It could be porn addiction. It could be all kinds of addiction. Why? Because those addiction actually help them run away from their mind, from their inferiority complex, for their low self-esteem, and what all the negative emotions that they feel at that time. They are trying to distract their mind. That not feeling good enough that they picked from the childhood, they took it from adult. So because when they feel dysregulated, okay, now let me say this. When you don't teach your child healthy way to regulate themselves when they are throwing tantrum, when they feel dysregulated as a child, they are going to use drug to regulate themselves as an adult. You may not have been into drugs and substances, but because you didn't know how to show them how to regulate themselves, they are going to use those substances, use drugs, use porn, use become workaholic and what have you, to regulate themselves because they were not taught properly how to regulate themselves as an adult. So that is what happened. I hope my time up. Because that is what happened when you don't teach your children how to regulate themselves. Now, let me, before I round up, I still have 3 minutes left. Okay. Before I round up, as a parent, it is your duty to regulate your children when they feel dysregulated. But you can't regulate them when you don't know how to regulate your own emotions. That's why I always tell people go through some courses on emotional regulation, like emotional intelligence. There are five core pillars on emotional intelligence. The three I take very clearly is self-awareness, self-regulation, and social skills. Okay, these three are core, very important, and self-motivation also are very important as a parent. When you know, understand who you are, what are your triggers, how were you raised, what are the things that triggered you? Why do you behave the way you behave? Then you go down to the self-regulation. How do you regulate yourself when you are dysregulated? Do you take alcohol to regulate yourself? Do you take distract your mind because you believe that that is the only way you can regulate yourself? Then your social skills. How do you interact with people? How do you feel comfortable within yourself? Because if you don't feel comfortable within yourself, you can't feel comfortable with other people. That is the truth. And all these things I mentioned, you are going to pass it down to your children because they mirrored everything you do. Children at a very tender age don't hear what you say. They only mirror you. There is what they call mirror neuron. Children are very good at it. They mirror everything. They mirror your anger. They mirror your resentment. They mirror your how would they call it, your joy. They mirror your excitement. Everything you do, children mirrors you. They don't think, they can't think for themselves. They depend on you to program them. So whatever you put into them is what they are going to do. Before I end, let me show you. This is a laptop. Okay, this is a computer. Now, before now, if you buy a computer, you have to take it to somebody who will put every software for you to be able to use that computer. This is how children are. When a child is born, they depend on you to put those software that will help them navigate through life difficulties later in life. If the software you put in them is about self limitation, is about self criticism, is about every negative emotion that you pass across to them. That is what they are going to run, the software that is going to run into them. For instance, if I don't like the software that is in this program, I can go and delete it and put another one. But it's not everybody that have that ability to delete those programs. Okay, to delete those programs and install. That is what I call state of consciousness. As an adult, you have to come to the state of consciousness for you to be able to begin to delete every programs that are not that are self-limiting, and begin to install new programs that will help you to achieve your aim as a parent, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, whatever you want to become. You have to begin to install those programs into you. That is what I'm an advocate of intentional parenting. If you don't intentionally install those software into you that will help you become a better version of you are going to pass the same thing that was passed across down to you. I think there's what they call transgenerational trauma. Most times we pass down trauma from from our forefather, great grandfather, grandfather, father. We pass it across to our children. You have to heal yourself. You have to become a transitional character that will break that limitation, that you will not pass it across to your parent, to your children. You have to set the tone for them at early stage in their lives. They say when there's a proverb my parents used to make then, that a dry fish cannot be burned, is true. At that early age is where you have to stop. If your child will commit suicide later in future, it is set for them at later that early stage. If they're going to validate, they're going to feel self-confident later in future, you are the one that will set the tone for them. However they're going to feel later in future, you set the tone for them, not themselves. You are the architect of their life. You design their life until they grow to the certain stage where they begin to make decisions by themselves. They begin to rewrite that program for themselves. But if they never come to that place of consciousness, you are the one that set the tone for them. You are the one. You are the architect of their life. You are the one that build whatever they're going to experience later in future. So I don't know, Coach Vivi, I don't know if you can hear me. There are questions or whatever. Let me just take them quickly.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Okay. Very well. Very, very well.
I can hear you loud and clear. Okay.
Okay.
Please, people, drop your questions. I can see a lot of comments so that Coach Alex can answer to our questions before he runs away. Right? Please drop your questions as he begins to round up. I can see a lot of comments. A lot of people are reading you. A lot of people are hearing the terminologies, the psychological terminologies that you use in this session.
Mm,
all the all the all the mind view terminologies for therapeutic trauma or trauma experiences.
mm,
A lot of parents are hearing it, and it is good that we are even getting more aware and conscious to this. Parents of the tribe will not be surprised because these are the conversations we keep having every day, right? Like I always say, this conference marks the beginning of the journey. The conference is not just going to end after 6 days. Rather, after 6 days, we begin a work of excavation. For the tribers already, we begin to look into ourselves again. And then for people who are out there, we advocate that they join the Parents of the Build Your Home tribe. The reason is simple. Childhood is everything. Our journey in the tribe in the Build Your Home Tribe program is actually a proactive journey. We train the trainers, and the trainers are the parents. You cannot train another when you are not trained. All the things you have just said to us can literally work only if you had a journey with your children when they were little. Anything
That
outside
that is
that,
that that is that is the that is
you
the
will
first.
struggle.
Because
You will struggle.
if you have not been able to, okay, now before I end, let me, okay, you know this story. I was raised in a very dysfunctional home. When I mean dysfunctional home, very, very dysfunctional home, any parents could ever think of. My fear was I don't want to raise my children the way I was raised. Okay. That fear drives me into some certain things. But when my wife was pregnant, there was something that would always come to mind. What kind of father are you going to be? What kind of father are you going to be? Are you sure you're not going to be like your parents? Are you not going to be like your father? You're not going to be like this and that. And that puts me on the path of a journey to begin to discover some basic things as an adult now who wants to become a father. And I have been on that journey and I'm still on that journey, learning every day, working on my triggers, trying to be the best of me for that me not to pass across what was given to me. If you check, most people, most fathers who abandon their children were also abandoned by their fathers. Go and check.
Exactly.
High percentage of it were abandoned by their father. There was a young a guy who normally come to our fellowship. Then um he's so bitter with his father because the father abandoned him. Guess what? Him also have abandoned two children from two different women. You
Okay.
see, it is not all about what you tell and what you tell adult to do. When adult, oh, be nice to your wife, be nice to your husband. Set the tone from childhood. Set the tone. Let
Exactly.
it become a program. Let it become a program. When it becomes a program,
Exactly.
it is very easy to navigate.
Exactly.
Parenting comes with its own challenges. People don't have the ability to cope with the challenges that come. They never see their father coping with some stress that come with parenting. So the next thing they want to do is, I'm not ready for this. The trigger comes, I'm not ready for this. This place is not safe for me. I want to run away from it. So they japa, leaving the woman and the baby alone. They never see their father go through. When you are involved with your parent, with your children, when you take them along with you, when they see how you cope with some situation, when they see how you cope with some difficulties, when they see how you relate with their mother, when they see how you relate with their fathers, when they see in fact, they are downloading all these things. They are downloading, chaka chaka, treated like a camera, chaka 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 chaka. They grab. It determines how they are going to live their life in future. So
Mm.
when you're trying to correct them, be nice to your parent, be nice to your wife, be nice to your children, that is nonsense. Except the person intentionally become a transitional character who wants to break that boundary. If that doesn't happen,
Mm.
they will replicate the whole thing again. It becomes a transgenerational
Which is
trauma, which we
why
call transgenerational causes in the part of our faith.
which is why we have the situation on ground that is becoming overwhelming. Only this year, I have lost 5 people to suicide. 5 close family friends have lost their big children, big sons, working class. Like, people get like agitated. Why now? Why will he commit suicide? He's working. They are comfortable. Their father gave them cars, this and that and all that. That's not that's a background story people do not understand.
That is
Children
that
begin
is
to
that is nonsense.
children begin to know themselves and internalize everything about their identity while they are still children. The things they
Very
do as
small.
an adult, 90%, especially in this part of the world, is what we call coping mechanisms. And these coping
Mm,
mechanisms is
most often
actually
that
to
it's not just
numb.
it's maladaptive coping mechanism. It's on the
Exactly,
negative. It's on the
exactly,
negative. We just want to numb.
exactly.
Now, let me
Numb,
give you
yes,
instance.
numb.
When you love your child because of their performance based, that child is going to live all his life hoping that your child will be looking for performance. Those people that you say, oh, they have a job, why they commit suicide? Go and check. They fail. There's something they failed at that make them feel
Mm.
less of themselves. There is something
Exactly.
they fail at. When you nurture, you see, life is an upside down. You fail sometimes, you win sometimes. This thing you have to teach them from the childhood. In life, you don't win all the time. You lose, you win. It's life. Life does not give
Exactly.
you everything you want at the same time. But when you make your children's life based on performance, they are going to look at their life. When they fail at some, people have committed suicide because of relationship failure. They have committed suicide because they lost their job. They have committed suicide because they
Because
have
of
a divorce.
exam.
They have committed
Exam.
because thank you because of exam. Because they see failure as a part of them, not an event. Because that
Yeah.
is how they were raised up. That is how they were taught. They see failure
Exactly.
as a part of them, not as an event. But when you raise a child who have this understanding, failure is an event. It doesn't define who I am. So
The
even when they
parents that
fail
go to
101
buy,
times,
they learn their lessons. The parents
hmm,
who go to write, buy expo centers for the children in SS2 and in
I sorry
SS3,
for them.
what do you think engineered this? Even their children know that they don't have an identity. Their children are more confused than their parents because
Very
these
confused.
things that are the things that they are being pushed to do. In fact, a father was telling me just last week, on Thursday last week, a husband was telling me that he couldn't believe that the wife went and got admission for the daughter with 500,000 naira in his school, second university or not secondary school. And then the man was so
And
furious
virtually it
and
is this
telling me,
it is destroy
yes, the man was
it
so
destroyed the
furious.
life of that child.
Of course, because the man was even telling me that the girl can actually do, get the admission on her own. Why is the wife always building bridges for the children? That his children have lost totally identity about themselves. They don't even understand it. They just feel they
Identity.
have to. And identity is the highest distorting mechanism of this generation, because the media is there to even help them get distorted the more. So it is a whole
Yeah.
lot. And that's why I tell parents who are listening that if you just listen in this conference and go, you have not done yourself any good. You need to listen and begin a journey. And that journey is not going to be here. The journey is going to be through a process of learning, which is why we run the tribe. In the whole year, we analyze, we get awareness, we get to excavate, we do an inner work and begin to even see. Even this morning, I was talking with a driver, and she was like, in all of this, I'm just, when I hear things, I'm looking, it seems to me like, where have I been all my life? Right? And she has been in the tribe for over 2 years, but she still feels the same way, because the truth is, at every developmental stage of your children, there's a required knowledge, higher knowledge, that
Knowledge.
is required to match the developmental level where your children are. And the more you grow, the more you begin to feel like, oh wow, all the things you knew will become little for you, because you now see that they do not match where you are. That's what knowledge does for you. Knowledge comes like light. And when God wants to deliver you, He gives you light. Light, clarity, direction. That's what knowledge does. So thank you so much for for unraveling this background for us. I actually wanted parents to know that suicide is one of the things that research has shown will be the causes of major deaths for the generation of children we are raising. Even last week, an 8-year-old girl drank sniper in my street. 8-year-old girl. 8-year-old girl. So it is not. She's not just drinking it at that time because the mother quarreled, like they said, but there's a feeling she's already having about herself and how the mother talks to her. You hear
Like,
children say things.
it's a build up thing.
Yes,
It's a
it
build
is.
up thing. It's not just that quarrel, it's a build up
Yes,
thing.
it is.
It
It
has been
is.
building up.
It
Now
is.
let me shock you. Let me shock you this. This is outside our normal discussion. Do you know that every mental health disorder you will ever see, every mental health disorder you could ever think of, nobody was ever born with it. There is no gene responsible for it. No gene responsible for any
Exactly.
mental health disorder. It have to do with that. It have to do
Exactly.
with upbringing, the way you raise your children, determine their mental
Mm,
health state when they become an adult. Nobody was born
Oh
with
my
any
God.
mental health disorder. Nobody was ever created with mental. No, it's not a gene. It's no gene responsible. Oh, your parents have it, so it's going to trust. No, it is the life event based on what happened to us from childhood. If you see people that have resilience, go and check their background. If you see people that have resilience, they'll say, "Oh, they weathered the storm." Go and check their background, where they're coming from. The resilience were built on them from the onset. Like
Mm,
that one that went to go
mm.
and register the children for school, you're not building resilience in them. You are not making them pass through their phase. Let them go through it. Love them while they're going through that phase. Love them
They are the ones that
unconditionally.
will
When they
kill
fail,
themselves.
love them. When they succeed, love them. Let them go through that phase by themselves. They will see you are
Mm.
building resilience in them. When you are
And
gone, they
grit.
will stand tall and stand. Thank you. So
Exactly.
thank you
And
very much.
grit. We are so grateful. Everybody is raving you in the comment section. People are thanking you. I think I'm seeing, okay, great session, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. We appreciate you. People are thanking you. If you can see the screen, people are raving you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
can't
so
see.
much. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Prince Alex is someone close and dear to my heart. And I know that he will also be coming in the tribe to also have conversations with the parents of the tribe. In fact, 2025, he will be in the tribe full time so that parents of the tribe can access him. He will be in the tribe 247. Like he has already booked his slot. In fact, he was the first person to book for 2025. So going ready for him. He will be available for everything you want him to talk to you about. These are people that on your own, on my own, you may not be able to book their sessions. If you come to Mindview Consultancy, if you hear the amount that you book his session with, you will close your ears. You won't be able to book it to see him. But when we get this
But
privilege of them being
we are affordable.
when we get this privilege of having them,
Actually,
you know,
what
people don't know what
what
it
we do
is.
what we deal with, in my view, actually is we deal with your childhood trauma. We deal with you, not the adults,
Yes,
because the personality we are
yes,
seeing are be coated up. We deal with you. We deal with the roots where your problem are coming from. Then
have
you
been
can fly
coated
from
up.
there. Because I dealt with
You
my
have
own.
been
I
coated up.
struggle with it. Yeah, you have been coated up. So let's help you. The reason why you struggle in relationship, why you struggle your parenting styles, why you get triggers, why you struggle in your marriages, why you can't connect, why you can't have intimacy. These are not something that happened to you as an adult. It happened from the onset. Who are you?
Yeah,
You don't have any
yeah,
self identity.
yeah.
So thank you very
So
much,
thank you
Coach
so
Vivian, for
much.
having me.
God bless you. We are grateful. In
Thank you.
2025, he will explore everywhere with us in the tribe. Thank you so much. You don't have any question, and we will leave you to run so we can get into the next session. Good to have you, and we'll
Thank
have you
you.
again and again. Enjoy the rest of your day, sir. So, everybody that has been in this session, thank you so much. Suicide ideation is one of the topics that worries me so much because, like I said, just this year I've lost 5 adults, 5 promising young people, family friends to suicide. And I have seen within the course of the year little children 13, 8, 9, 10, and all that with drugs and suicide attempts. So it's one of the topics that I need for us to understand that we cannot look away and say it cannot happen. No, God is doing this, God is doing that. It is something that calls us to consciousness because even research have already pointed that this generation of children are going to struggle with it because they are going to have a lot of loss of identity where the media is telling them different things about. You heard 2 days ago when Coach Abibo said it. Over 72 agendas pursuing the boy child. Over 72. So it's no longer LGBTQ, gayism. This one, 72 agendas. Did we know anything like that? So it is a whole lot of work. And no conference, no session, no class can take care of it, which is why we run the tribe. So I encourage you to book your slot for the tribe. And if you continue to join the sessions early, we have 10 free slots for parents who joined early in any of the sessions. Free 10 slots for parents who joined early or joined first, rather, in any of the sessions. Thank you so much. And make sure you share the video, send the link to your family, send the link to your friends, send the link of this video from the channel to your church members, anybody that is close to you in your circle and everywhere. Let's make these things to be, out there so that others can know that there's something just beyond intuition. Parenting in our generation has gone beyond intuition. Yes, in our time, our parents can say intuition. Even today, intuition is important. It's close to discernment. However, without knowledge, you would destroy your children. It is not because you don't love them, it is because you do not know. When Coach Abibo was talking, one of the things that got me attracted, or rather attached to him, was when I listened to his story as a boy child. In my greatest imagination, I wouldn't have known or believed that a 10-year-old will carry gun. How? Because I have a 10-year-old and I know that where would 10-year-old see gun and all that, right? This is just my own limited knowledge. I never knew a 9-year-old could get to drugs. We didn't see it. Even as an adult, I have not seen one until I started working in the family life system, where I'll be called to NDLEA, and my heart will be heavy, pouring in tears, watching children who are already struggling with drugs at 9. These are all the realities of our own challenge in today's parenting. And that's why we are learning and going ahead to top up the knowledge that will match where our children are going. That's what proactive parenting is about. So please do not go away. We'll be ending this session and bringing the next session, Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. If you know you are a parent who do not understand discipline, Ogunkomi will be talking about effects of discipline and behavioral management. Behavior is where nurturing a child starts. So if our children do not have character, no matter who they are, no matter their intelligence, no matter whatever, they cannot stay at the top. And even if they get to the top, they will come down, because character keeps you at the top. Character stays with you. Without character, you will lose everything called opportunity and lose everything called essence and identity. So stay tuned. We're going into the next session again, where we'll be talking about effective discipline and behavioral management. Thank you, and sit back for the next session.